Hi everybody, welcome back. Glad you could tune in again. Okay, I want to talk about daily Bible reading. I'm talking about just you, just on your own, what you're doing in private to get yourself soaked over the months and years and decades in the Word of God. Now, I know that many of you, perhaps most all of you, are doing this regularly already. If you've got a system that works for you, please don't change it. Just stop the video immediately, go and do that or something else productive, because what I've got to say probably won't help you, although it might do, because it might be that you're thinking, hey, I could always try something new, or I might learn something anyway, even if you've got a system which is working now. But if you don't have a system that's working now, or if you would like just to try and think about something else, I've got some thoughts, some ideas that I'd like to give you to think about, just to encourage you to try some new ways of getting into the Word of God. The aim here is, as I said, simply over the years and over the decades to soak yourself in the Scriptures. Do not worry if, when you're reading the Bible, you keep thinking, I don't understand what this means. Obviously you don't understand what it means. None of us really understands what it means. We have more or less understanding, but what we're really trying to do is to grow in our immersion in the Word of God over the years, so that as the years accumulate, so to speak, we become more familiar with the Scriptures and we start to make connections, and things that we didn't understand when we first read them 10 years ago start to become a bit clearer to us. It's not that we're trying to go through and comprehensively understand every verse before we move on to the next, or we'd still be in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 probably, and we'd never make progress anywhere. The aim then is just to keep making some kind of progress through the whole Bible, throughout our whole lives. Now, how quickly do you want to go ahead and do this? Really, there's no right or wrong answer here, but let's just get some numbers on the table so we know what we're talking about. There are 929 chapters in the Old Testament and 260 chapters in the New Testament. So leaving aside quirks like Psalm 119, which might take you a little bit longer than some of the others, you can easily get through the whole of the Old Testament in a year by reading 3 chapters a day, and you can easily get through the whole of the New Testament in a year by reading 1 chapter a day. And let me tell you, if every Christian on the face of the earth read the whole Bible once a year for the whole of their lives, the church would be in a whole lot better state than it is right now. So that will be something to aim at. That gives you some parameters, and it also helps you to think about timings, doesn't it? You can probably read 4 chapters of the Bible in 15 or 20 minutes very easily, and that, it seems to me, will be a fairly reasonable amount to aim at. For some people, you might want to read a bit more than that, completely fine, but I also think it's wise to think about reading Old Testament and New Testament at the same time. If you've got your fingers, so to speak, in 2 books of the Bible at once, if it sort of saves you from drowning in Leviticus or drowning in First Chronicles or something, which can be a little bit discouraging if that's all you're doing. But if you're looking at something else, then there's always something, or likely to be something, which has some immediate practical relevance, or which provides a little bit of variety, and variety is good for us. I think it's good to set a target, so whatever target you set, go for it, and my encouragement would be not to worry too much about what you read when you read it. If somebody didn't know what to do, I'd say just start at Genesis 1 or Matthew 1, or get some other plan, the Chain Bible reading plan, which you can do all in one go, or you can chop in half and spread out a bit longer, whatever takes your fancy. What I actually do is I just read a couple of books at any one time, and when I get to the end of the Old Testament book, I just pick the next Old Testament book that takes my fancy. I get to the end of the New Testament book, I'll do the same thing, so that I'm always reading something new, and I'm also keeping a record of what I've been reading, so that I'm filling in the gaps. I'm not reading Romans 16 times before I've read Mark twice or something like that. I encourage you to keep a record of what you're reading, in part because it will encourage you as you'll see yourself making progress through the Scriptures. Of course, keeping a record and setting a target for yourself also means setting criteria for failure. And so that's the main reason why people don't like setting targets, because if you set a target and you miss, you know it. Whereas if you don't set a target, of course, you can kid yourself that you're not failing, although failing to plan is, as they all say, planning to fail. So here's what I want to suggest about these targets. I would say set yourself a target, but set yourself not just a daily target, set yourself a weekly target. Here's the reason why. in the realities of life, it's always going to be the case that something's going to crop up on Monday or a Wednesday or on a Saturday or something, which is going to derail you slightly, and you won't have the time that you would like to have set aside for reading the scriptures on a particular day. And so then you get behind, and then you come to it the next day and you're discouraged because you feel like you've got this mountain to climb. Well, if you set yourself a weekly target, and then you're travelling or you're ill or something happens on Wednesday, for example, you can easily catch up during the rest of the week, and it doesn't feel so daunting. So instead of setting yourself, let's say, 3 chapters of Old Testament, 1 New Testament, or 2 Old Testament, 1 New Testament, set yourself, I don't know, 15 Old Testament a week and 6 New Testament or 7 New Testament a week. And that way the flexibility will allow you to catch up without feeling burdened when you slip behind, which you inevitably will. And the other thing I'd say about targets is, if you miss a target for more than 2 weeks in a row, cut it in half and try again. 50% beats 0%. That's the basic principle. And if you get discouraged having failed to hit your target and you stop, that's a disaster. But it's not a disaster to get 80% of the target, or 50% of the target, or 30% of the target. Just find yourself a target for the amount you want to read that you can comfortably reach, and then go for that. And then, of course, if you want to increase it over time, that'd be good for you as well. Just a few other thoughts about resources. Sometimes people spend a long time wondering about whether they should read Bible study notes and that kind of thing. All those kinds of things can be really helpful. There's a whole ton of resources out there. My one comment about them is that some of them tend to take you away from reading the Bible into reading the resources. And for that reason, I tend to favour the sort of Bible study notes that are really, really sparse, rather than the ones with 15 quite detailed questions on half a chapter of Colossians. I want to be reading Colossians, not somebody's Bible study notes on Colossians. And so one resource that I've found helpful that I know a number of other people have enjoyed is called Search the Scriptures by Alan Stibbs. It's a big, thick thing, but it takes you through, I think it's the whole Bible in 3 years. So it's a little slower than you might want to go if you want to read the Bible in a year. But the great thing about it is it's just got a couple of questions each day, and they're very thought-provoking. When it comes to those questions, I'd encourage you to write stuff down. Personally, I write things in the Bible itself. I know for some people that's kind of sacrilegious, and I can still remember the anxiety that I felt the first time I picked up a pencil with trembling fingers to write something in the margins of a Bible. You can get a Bible which is designed to be written in, if that makes you feel better. Or if you're still nervous about it, find yourself the cheapest Bible you can get hold of for £2 on Amazon or something, and just try it for a month. See if it helps you. And see what you learn, and see whether you enjoy just writing things down. If you don't want to do that, grab yourself a journal or a notebook or something else. Anything made of paper is good. Anything on a screen is likely to distract you, I find. But if you have something made of a notebook or something like that, try that, and it'll help you to focus your thoughts. You might find that useful. Something I find particularly helpful is an audio Bible. Not necessarily the same version that I'm reading. It doesn't matter as long as it's roughly similar. You don't want to be reading the King James and listening to the Living Bible. That really would be kind of slightly schizophrenic, be slightly driving you in 2 directions. But if you've got an audio Bible which you can listen to as you're reading, the great benefit I find for me personally is it keeps me moving. If I didn't have the audio Bible to keep me moving, I would get, I guess, distracted, but distracted probably in a good way, in a sense. Halfway through the first chapter, I'd be chasing cross-references and stuff because I've got little centre column references in my Bible. And those things would intrigue me so much that I wouldn't cover the ground that I want to cover. So for me personally, it helps to have an audio Bible because it stops me from stopping, if you see what I mean. It keeps me moving as I'm trying to work my way through the scriptures. And the other thing I've found helpful from time to time is to combine quick reading through large chunks of the scriptures, especially its narrative portions, with a slower reading through other portions of the Bible. I know I said it's good just to cover the ground, but variety is great too. And so on occasion, I've just found myself thinking, well, let's say Galatians or something. I just want to really get to know Galatians a little bit better. So I might read it, the whole thing, again and again and again for a couple of weeks. And then I might just slow down and just scribble lots and lots of little more detailed notes. And that can sometimes be interesting. It's unlikely that we'll live long enough to do that with every book in the Bible in quite the same way. But nonetheless, you might find that certain books capture your imagination, and why not just dig into them a little bit more deeply. So there we are, some thoughts about Bible reading. If you want any of the details of the audio Bibles that I've used, I'll make sure they get put in the description of the video, and I'll put them in the email as well. If you want any more information, just give me a shout, and let me know how you get on. If you have any questions, just give me a shout. Otherwise, the Lord bless you, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye for now.